Hey, what's up guys, Theo here, and welcome to Learn Express here on CodeCademy. This is going to be the first lesson, Learn Express routes, and we might break this up into a few parts, so bear with me. If you're not familiar with Express, Express is a sort of unopinionated framework, as the docs say, built on top of Node.js. It's a web framework. It's used for building web applications, API, and it basically takes care of a lot of the heavy lifting, or rather the tedious task of APIs, routing, and middleware, or setting up middleware that you might have to do with just bare bones vanilla Node.js. Okay, so with that said, we're going to move on and look at this introduction, and you can read through this, right? And basically, throughout this exercise, we're going to work through these HTTP verbs, which are the most common in a web application in terms of CRUD operations, and CRUD stands for create, read, update, and delete. So this is a GET request. This would be similar to, or is a post request. This is a patch or a put. Put is a full update, whereas a patch is usually just a partial. Delete is deleting a resource. And again, you can read through this. I just want to sort of go through the actual content with you guys. All right, so let's go ahead and let me just take this, or I'll leave this in here. So this is looking at starting a server, and so basically we just want to import Express, create an instance, and run it. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. So what we can do is we're requiring Express, and this is because we're not doing it relatively, or we're not going up a layer or up a directory. It's going to pull from the node modules. Now we can say Express. We can also say new Express because we don't care about this keyword. We're just going to say Express. Now we're saying port. This is really good and pretty common in production. Is what you're going to do is you're going to say process.environment.port. So this is a node global, right? So this is specific to node in this case, but usually you'll be able to configure environment variables, and this is a good example where we're not going to know what port that Heroku or whatever other deployment manager we're using is going to assign us until that time of running our application, right, hitting the page. So in that case, we're going to say process.environment port. If that's not set, right, we're using the OR operator right here. So if this is undefined, right, then we want to default to the set port, right? So that's good convention. So this next method, app.listen, is basically going to start our server. This is similar to if we have the http.createServer method with node, and then this takes in a function with a rec and a res, right? So that's similar to that. But we have app.listen that takes in a port. It takes in an optional callback function, and we can just say console.log, and I'm going to give some backticks, and I can say listening on port, and with the template string I'm going to say listening on port, and now in here I can list where I'm in the right directory, so I can just say node app.js. This will run the contents of this file, and we see listening on port 4001. Let's go ahead and check our work, make sure we got that correctly. Cool. And I think we'll go to lesson 5 on this one. So we're writing our first route, okay? So that's really the beauty of Express. It takes care of a lot of the sort of modularities and the intricacies of writing routes. Okay, so what we can do, again, we're going to want to use Node. You can use Node mod, which will restart our server every time we make changes. But in this case, we just have Node, so anything server-side, we're always going to need to restart and run it again. So we're going to make a GET request, right? So we're going to say app.get, and this is where Express really shines. That's the beauty of it, and a lot of other frameworks have followed this convention and naming the methods the same as the HTTP verbs. So we're going to say app.get. The first parameter is the route we want to send a request to. In this case, I don't know why it keeps jumping on me. Okay, so we're going to say expressions. Okay, and the next is a callback function that's past the request object, the response object, and a lot of times you won't use this, but the next, which would just signal to keep going down in the flow of middleware in terms of Express, is called. So in this case, what we want to do, what do we want to do? Do we want to do anything else? Oh, log out the rec object. So we can just log out rec, and we can take a look at that real quick. And the last thing it wants to go over here is this line, app.use. Anytime you see app.use, that's generally to use some sort of middleware. So in this case, Express has its own middleware for serving static files. So basically we're saying Express, anything under the public folder, go ahead and serve that for us. So we're not going to get 404s for not finding those resources. Okay, so I'm going to run this. Say node app.js. And now you'll see when we run this and we hit it again, right? Let me make sure. Oh, let me hit expressions. And now you can sort of see, I'm not going to go through all of this, but we can see the route, the methods, the href, the path name, all of this stuff that is actually passed on, that is involved in the request object, the different headers, etc. Okay, so let's check our work, make sure we got that correct in here. Cool. And we'll go on to 4. So let's send a response back. So send the expressions array from your app.get handler. So now that we have something, right, we always want to respond with a route, right? If you're consuming an API, no matter what, you always expect some data to come back. So we can actually use the response object, and that has a method called send on it. So we can say return response.send. In this case, we want to pass it the expressions array, and I'm getting expressions from right here. It's just this empty array, and then we're seeding it. All right, cool. And let's go ahead and run this. Node app.js. Let's hit the route of expressions, and there you can see we're getting our array back. Awesome. Finally, for this lesson, let's go on to lesson 5, and we're going to see this. There's nothing to do, but this is this diagram of basically how Express runs through your server-side code and can sort of determine how it's going to progress. So, right, so make a GET request to expressions. This is to another route, so it's going to say no, this doesn't match here. So then it's going to check here, right? It's all these conditionals. It's going to keep trickling down. It's going to go through here, right? It's going to check the request response next, and then here we're just ending the response. This is like writing it down to the page. We're sending that response to the client, and we're done with the request. So in the next lesson, we'll move on to number 6 here, which will be getting a single expression. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care and have a great day.